After that session, I had a sit down with the spokesperson of the Presidential Committee on Northeast Initiative to find out how the agency has used social media to simplify its work. Can you tell us a little bit about PCNA and why it was constituted, and would you say that it has met its obligations and objectives since its creation?
One of the primary reasons why President Muhammadu Buhari established PCNA was the fact that he needed an organization that had a holistic look of everything that was going on in the Northeast. But before then, we had a Safe Schools Initiative, we had the Victim Support Fund, and we had PINE. So we needed an organization to bring all of these other organizations under one umbrella to be able to see and intervene what was going on in the Northeast, instead of having a plethora of organizations where you had duplications. But right now, we have a holistic picture of what everybody is trying to do in each and every sector of humanitarian intervention in the Northeast.
All right, so let's take a look at how social media has aided, PCNA in carrying out its objectives and obligations in the Northeast. How would you say you have used social media to aid your work?
The most important thing that social media has helped us achieve is the fact that if you look at the Northeast as a region, I'll describe it somewhat as a media dark hole, whereby media assets have been degraded by the insurgency, where there are not enough reporters and correspondents covering the activities of the Northeast. And this is where the humanitarian news is. This is where there's a great need for Nigerians and the world at large to know what is going on. So we have been able to get from social media real-time activities going on that warrant our attention. So for example, in camps where there's no water, in camps where they need food, in communities where they need shelter, we've been able to get young people go into these communities to tell us what is happening. PCNA and other interventionist agencies cannot be at all the places at the same time. So we rely on real-time information from social media to be able to know what is going on and intervene at the right time. Because a lot of things are hinged on the fact that we need to respond in very good time. Because sometimes what we do, our interventions, is a matter of life and death. We've also gone a step further to train young people in the appropriate use of social media, and also to give them tools. We've trained almost about 100 people so far in Borno State, in Adamawa State, to help us do this work.
You can just give us a perspective as how one can use, or how PCNA uses social media to counter violent extremism in the Northeast and maybe even the country at large.
We ensure that we use a technique called user-generated content, UGC. So if a particular person tweets at us that this is what is going on, we try to search online to see if there is an incidence of the same tweet. So most likely, for example, if it is a bomb blast, you'll discover that a lot of people are tweeting about the same thing at the same time. And then we take a step further to ask them that, where is your location? So for example, if it happens in Maiduguri, some people will say that they are around Jidari Polo, some people will say that they are around Customs and all that. These are all neighborhoods in Maiduguri. If we discover that disparate people in different places are talking about the same thing, then we'll now go take another step to call people on ground, to ask them, have you heard this or so thing? We also have field officers in Borno State. We'll ask them to go to these places and verify to see whether these actual incidents have happened. So we have steps and techniques to actually verify some of this news before we swing into action.
Well, we are in an era of fake news. How do you verify some of these messages you get on social media to be sure that what is being sent by people on social media is actually correct?
If you look at the causative factors of this conflict, you'll discover that it is steeped a lot in miseducation of the entire population. You'll discover that it is steeped in illiteracy. It is also steeped in ignorance. Ignorance of laws is not an excuse, as they say. One of the primary duties of us and those who know better on social media is to be able to educate the population against hate speech. That's one. Against things that can further exacerbate the insurgency. And finally, against the do's and don'ts of how to live in a harmonious community. So for example, people just come and talk anyhow without understanding that it is really inappropriate to talk like that. But once we go on social media and continue to say that this is inappropriate, this is the right way to do things, if you see something, report something, then it will go a long way in beginning to counter violent extremism. So for example, we attend mosques, we attend churches and all that. Sometimes the clergymen in our places of worship advise us or tell us something that is actually against the norm of what is right. But if we're educated to know what we should do and what we should not do, it will be very, very helpful in checking other misdeeds that will go on in the future.
And now we'll take a break on the program and we'll be back shortly. Don't go away.